Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast. Today's date, May 21st, episode 151 of the Betting Above the Rim podcast. Let's get started with our tip-off topics with Thunder take game one. The Oklahoma City Thunder win 114-88 versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, easily covering as a 7.5-point favorite. And it's really the tale of two halves when you look at it. When you look at half number one, you had obviously Minnesota up at the break, 48-43. Julius Randle gets off to a great start, 6 of 8 from the floor, 20 points. Anthony Edwards, 13 points in the first half. And then you look at Oklahoma City, Jalen Williams, and then obviously SGA, shoot a combined 4 for 21 from the field in the first half, combining for only 17 points. And it was a major reason why Minnesota was ahead at the break. But the key thing is for the Oklahoma City Thunder is they kept the defensive pressure until their guys stepped up. And in the second half, completely different story as Jalen Williams and SGA shoot a combined 13 for 24 from the floor for a total of 33 points. Those two guys scored 33 points in the second half, and the Minnesota Timberwolves only scored 40, particularly the struggles of Anthony Edwards in the second half, only 2 of 6 from the floor, 5 points, and a minus 26. So that leads to a 1-0 series lead for the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that while we talk about their offense and what they can do, right, and how they play, and yes, they got contributions obviously up and down the board with obviously SGA, giving you 31, 19 for Jalen Williams, 15 for Chet Holmgren, right? 12 for Isaiah Hartenstein, right? You get 9 out of Caruso, 8 out of Williams, 7 out of Isaiah Joe. It's the fact that they held their defense together, holding Minnesota to a rough shooting game of 35% from the floor and 30% from three. That's the key here, is both teams are good defensively, but Oklahoma City may have too much offensive firepower for Minnesota. A lot of adjustments Minnesota have to do for game number 2. We'll preview a little bit of this in our award tour and then obviously in our scouting report as we preview game number 2. Let's head to the W, where unfortunate news where Kahleah Copper is expected to miss time for knee surgery for, I think it's about 4 to 6 weeks for Kahleah Copper, a.k.a. y'all know I already call her the walking bucket. And a team like the Phoenix Mercury, who I was extremely high on, their win total, folks, sits at 23.5 wins. If you remember, I came on this podcast last week and told you I liked the over, and I knew that they were going to lose Copper. Now, I didn't know they were losing for this long, of course, but the reason why I liked this team particularly is the play of getting Satu Sabally and Alyssa Thomas this year. These are obviously Satu Sabally is a walking bucket as well, 20-point-a-game scorer. And then obviously you have this Swiss Army knife and Alyssa Thomas that can get you a double-double or triple-double at any point. This is unfortunate news for a team that I think is a sleeper to make a deep run in the playoffs, but I still think there's value right now at 23.5 wins. Remember, this is being recorded on Wednesday. They do play tonight versus the Sparks, so that number may move, as I fully expect by the time you watch this podcast that the Phoenix Mercury will be 2-0. Let's hope that Kahleah Copper gets healthy and gets healthy soon. Let's head to men's college basketball. Yes, there's still transfer portal stuff. Remember, folks, we're going to have more stuff about the transfer portal as regards to the fact of you're coming to the deadline now soon where players can decide to stay in the NBA draft, and it's going to kind of affect where players go. One person that decided to come out of the NBA draft and transfer is Arkansas's Boogie Fland. And where does Boogie decide to go? Boogie! He went a little bit to the east and a little bit south, and he's heading to play for the national champions Florida Gators, as reported I do think first by Shams Charania, who seems to get every damn scoop. It doesn't matter if it's pro or college. Sometimes he even gets high school. Boogie Fland is going to have to play for Todd Golden and the Florida Gators. And it sets up a really interesting dynamic for Todd Golden, who after winning the national championship are going to lose his 3 senior guards. Walter Clayton Jr. graduates, Will Richard graduates, and then obviously Elijah Martin graduates. So those are 3 critical pieces for the University of Florida. And I think what you look at what Florida was able to do is not only get someone like Xavier Lee, but getting Boogie Fland out of the Bronx, 13 points, 5 rebounds, about 13 points, 5 assists, I should say, and 3 rebounds. It allows Todd Golden to kind of reshape his backcourt with the transfer portal. This is something that's become really big now, folks, in college basketball, is the ability to go into the transfer portal and go get players. So when you start to think about the University of Florida moving forward, if you get these 2 guys, and right now Florida, with the addition of Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee, I do believe, according to my producer Matty George, 4th best odds to win the national championship at now 15-1. Well, you always knew that going into this year, depending on what happens with these guys going pro, that the front court is going to be extremely strong for Florida. Alex Condon, who we expect should be coming back to return. Thomas Houck, who had a great run at point during the season. And then Ruben Chinilu. Having those 3 bigs back. The problem that you have with Florida, folks, is it's going to be more on the backcourt side. But getting someone like a Boogie Fland, right? Getting someone like a Xavier Lee. These are 2 high-impact, smart, cerebral guards that can really play into the system of Todd Golden. You got to remember, folks, also that Todd Golden, I do believe, has a top 20 high school recruiting class. So there's got to be players coming in from the high school ranks. This is the key with how you build rosters, folks. You develop your own players, you get the transfer portal, and then you go ahead and you get recruits. Big move by Todd Golden and getting Boogie Fland to commit to the Gators. Let's head now to the Big 12, where Grant McCasland has just signed a massive extension at, obviously, Texas Tech. And Grant McCasland has done a fantastic job with Texas Tech, going 51-20 and going into the Elite Eight. And let's be honest, they had Texas absolutely on the ropes in regard to their chances to almost knocking them off in the Elite Eight. So that is something that is pretty good for a school like Texas Tech, which he's done a great job after, Mark Adams had took it over for Chris Beard. And then obviously getting someone like Grant McCasland, who I believe came from North Texas, was a major, major move. And obviously that helps out, obviously, Texas Tech as they try to compete with some of the best players, best teams in the country. And really quick, breaking news also, according to Yahoo Sports' John Rothstein, the other big coach in the league, Kelvin Sampson, has also received an extension which will make Kelvin one of the highest paid coaches in the country and my favorite coach in college basketball, Kelvin Sampson. Coming up next, we'll get into our award tour. We'll break down the markets in the Western and Eastern Conference Finals, along with some plays in the WNBA, including Rookie of the Year. We'll be back with our award tour after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 151. And it's time to get into our award tour as we break down the future markets. With game one being completed and the Thunder getting that big win over the Minnesota Timberwolves, obviously the lines have moved and shifted. So let's take a look at now. The OKC Thunder are now minus 750 favorites to win the Western Conference title, with the Timberwolves now coming in at a plus 530. Best odds series spread right now, OKC minus 2.5 games at a minus 106. Over under is at 5.5. So it really comes down to, folks, is what you believe in, right? What does your conviction tell you in regards to this? How long can they extend this series? Me, as a coach, if you go back and you look to the last podcast, I do believe I said that I thought that the OKC Thunder could win it in 5. And it was at plus money at that point. So now, with them minus 2.5 games at minus 106, that means the Oklahoma City Thunder would have to win 3 of the next 4 games. Do we see that being a possibility? The answer is yes. It's been my thought process of both teams were equal or pretty equal defensively. It's just the fact that Oklahoma City Thunder, in my opinion, have more firepower between SGA, between Jalen Williams, between Chet Holmgren, right? What you get from the shooting out of a Lou Dort, what you get off the bench with a Kason Wallace, right? Isaiah Joe. I just figured there was more that they could give you in regards to that. If you went OKC minus 1.5 games, it's minus 260. So they're telling you right then and there, it's that sweet spot, right? So then if you go series total games, the lowest odds right now are 5 games at plus 198. When you look at total games, over 5.5, minus 106, under 5.5, at minus 114. So they're basically telling you it's right in that 5-6 game series. To me, it's 5. So I'm going with under 5.5 games, and then I'm going with obviously OKC minus the 2.5. Obviously, in looking at this case, the under 5.5 games is going to have slightly more juice because it gives you the opportunity for either team to make out. Any kind of odds you may look for, most 3-point odds, Anthony Edwards continues to be the leader, minus 155. Total rebounds, now Chet is the leader of plus 150 because Isaiah Hartenstein had a rough rebounding game. I was still looking at Isaiah Hartenstein at plus 440. Assist market, SGA is so far in the lead, it's not even worth talking about. Let's head to the WNBA now, and I think it's a good way for us to kind of break down, 2 of the I would say the 5 biggest superstars in the sport. Hear me out. And I'm going to start with the Rookie of the Year award, where Paige Bueckers is an overwhelming favorite at minus 450 to be the Rookie of the Year. Sonia Citron, 6-1. Kiki Iriafen, 16-1. Dominique Malanga, the center from France, is at 29-1. And there really isn't anyone else to really speak about. The reason why you have particularly Sonia Citron in the race right now is because of the fact that she's going to play major minutes for the Washington Mystics, along with obviously Kiki Iriafen. If you look at those 2 players right now, really good start by Sonia Citron, 17 points in her first game. Sonia Iriafen also playing major minutes for a Washington Mystics team that has overachieved, going 2-0 already to start this year. But when you really think about, the impact that both Iriafen and Citron have made, scoring in double figures, I don't think it's going to have the impact of what Paige Bueckers is giving you. Sonia Citron right now, folks, remember 2 games, 17 points per game. Iriafen, 15, 5, and 9. So why do I think it's going to be Paige, folks? I think part of the reason why it's going to be Paige is, number one, she's going to get the minutes. Number two, she's going to be a core member of that team. Three, she doesn't have a rookie that's going to take some of the stats away from, obviously, herself in regards to, I think, Citron and Ariafen can literally start taking minutes from each other. So look for Paige Beckers at minus 450 to win Rookie of the Year. And as the season gets along, maybe you wait a little bit, see the odds come down. For the MVP odds, Caitlin Clark's been absolutely phenomenal. 20-10-10 opening night, 27-11 and 6 game 2. She's now over a $1 favorite at plus 115 to be the Rookie of the Year. Asia Wilson 3-1 along with Nafisha Kahleah, and then obviously 35-1 for Brianna Stewart, Kelsey Plum, 44-1 for Satu Sabali, Sabrina Ionescu, Alyssa Thomas, Angel Reese 95-1. What a job so far by Caitlin Clark and how she has played. She has done everything for her team. They have failed her in a sense with the fact with that 91-90 loss last night to the Atlanta Dream. If you go past the top 3, and if Matt could pull up those odds again, if there's someone to look at, okay, it's Satu Sabali at 44-1. Here's why. I'm not taking Kelsey Plum at 35-1 because in my estimation, even though she's going to put up huge stats, I think you got to be in the top 4 in order to really be in that conversation, right? Can Sabali and Alyssa Thomas take away votes from each other? Possibly. But Alyssa Thomas is more a distributor. Satu's a scorer and rebounder. And remember, Kahleah Copper isn't coming back till the middle of the summer. I do think Satu Sabali at 44-1 is a sleeper pick right now to win the MVP title, particularly if she could find her way and her team into the top 4. Coming up next, we'll get into our scouting report as we'll preview game number 2 of the Western Conference Finals between Minnesota and OKC. And then we'll look at the Fever and the Dream and a little brief preview of Fever versus Liberty. That's coming up Saturday. All right, we'll be back after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 151, and it's time to get into our scouting report as we break down games in the NBA and WNBA, and we'll lead off with game number 2 of the Western Conference Finals between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Lines are out, and the Oklahoma City Thunder are the favorites right now at minus 7.5 points. The over-under was at 218.5 in game 1. Is already down to 214 as OKC tries to get a 2-0 series lead. I am leaning now going the other way, not in regards to spread. My favorite play was under 218.5. Now I'm going to go the opposite way and go over 214. If you look at the way that it was really a boxing match in the first half, I think OKC responded much better in the second half, obviously, and really just a terrible shooting performance, particularly from Minnesota, one of the better shooting teams from 3. So with the over-under coming down to 214, I am looking squarely at over 214 in the game. Spread, I'm going to stay away. Let's head to the W for 2 big matchups on Thursday night, leading off with the Indiana Fever as 3, now 3.5. Shop around and make sure you check these odds before you place bets versus the Atlanta Dream. Over-under is right there between 171.5 and 172.5. And if you dive in closely into this game, 91-90. You know, you really did not get a strong game out of Natasha Howard. You only got 1 scoring field goal out of Dewana Bonner. I think you're going to get a much better effort from the Indiana Fever, who really did not play well, was playing from behind and really didn't take the lead except from 2-0 until the last minute of the game when Aaliyah Boston went 1 of 2 from the foul line. So I am going to look at the Indiana Fever in a bounce-back spot, covering the 3 to 3.5 point spread. If you look at the double-double market, it's minus 180 for Caitlin Clark. I did this last time. They don't have this out yet. Folks, look for a player. If you look for a player performance double, where you can combine, let's say, Indiana Fever to win the game along with Caitlin Clark double-double, that'll allow you to do that. I would take a look at that when that comes out. That'll probably come out tomorrow in the popular section. So my play there would be Indiana Fever to win, and then I would go with Caitlin Clark to get a double-double, because if you really look at her assist prop right now, Caitlin Clark's assist prop is at over 9.5. And you know she's going to get double figures and points. Second game, talk about real quick, is Chicago versus New York. New York is a minus 11.5 point favorite on the road. I watched that entire Chicago Sky game. Let me tell you something. They can't score. They are awful defensively. New York Liberty, one of the better defensive teams. I fully expect New York Liberty to roll. Take New York Liberty minus 11.5, and it sets up an interesting dynamic. Saturday, no lines out yet. CBS, 1 p.m., the best team in the world in the WNBA, New York Liberty, defending champions, versus the best player, I should say the most popular player in the WNBA, and Caitlin Clark. It should be a phenomenal atmosphere in Indiana as that matchup will take place. Be sure to look out for a scouting report and for myself to talk about it with Tom Vecchio and, of course, Kevin Walsh in the Betting Above the Rim podcast, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time, only on Sports Grid. Breaking news as our buzzer beater is SGA has been awarded the 2025 MVP. No crap. And here's my thing. Why in the hell did we wait so long? I mean, did they have to count the votes 4, 5, 6, 7 times? Did they want to give the award to SGA during the Western Conference semifinals against Nikola Jokic? No, this is stupid. This is dumb. This should have been presented to SGA last round at home in front of his fans. I'm sure they'll recognize and give him the trophy again, but they should have given it to SGA during the Western Conference semifinals. It's a bad job by the NBA, and SGA deserves better, but he'll be able to celebrate with his fans in OKC. This has been your Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 151. For all things sports gambling, you know where you got to go. Let's download that Sports Grid app. Pre-game, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, and more from the very best of the sports gambling industry and the home of my scouting reports. For my producer, Matty George, Matty does a great job with the graphics. Thanks for listening, folks. Remember, it's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Good night.